Hi guys, this is Kristen Westmoreland, and today I'm going to be telling you a little bit about Tim Burton. He was born in 1958 in Burbank, California, and he started making stop-motion films at a young age. The earliest known film is The Island of Dr. Agor, which he made at age 13, and he was not a good student in high school, but he adored the arts, which is good because after graduating, he got accepted into the character animation program at the California Institute of the Arts. Burton thoroughly learned the filmmaking business in college, but focused mainly on filming shorts. He created two really well-known ones during his time here, and they were Stalk of the Celery Monster and King and Octopus. Celery Monster got him discovered by Disney's animation division when one of their animators saw it and offered him an apprenticeship at their studio. During his time there, he dabbled in several career paths before ultimately deciding on animator and director, and he worked on several popular Disney films like Fox and the Hound, Tron, and The Black Cauldron, but none of his work made it into the final cuts of the movies. And this was disappointing, but it still gave him plenty of opportunity to learn. He made his first published shorts while he was there, such as Vincent, which was narrated by Vincent Price, which gave him an outlet to work with bigger names. He also created Hansel and Gretel, which was his first live-action project, and he created Frankenweenie, which was a live-action short about a boy who brings his dog back from the dead. That one got him fired because Disney felt that he was wasting the studio's time and resources on productions that were too scary for children to enjoy, which is incredibly ironic considering how they asked him to come back in 2012 and make a full-length animated version of Frankenweenie, but I digress. And although this marked the end of his first partnership with Disney, it did prove beneficial to him because Paul Reubens, who is known for playing Pee Wee Herman, saw it and immediately sought him out to direct Pee-wee's Big Adventure. This was his first feature-length film. It was hugely successful and earned him a cult following, and it also marked the first time that he would work with Danny Elfman, which is hugely monumental, but we will get to that later. His next big project was Beetlejuice. It had a smallish budget of $15 million, but it was an incredible box office success, which eventually grossed $73.7 million. It also won Burton his first Academy Award, and it's still one of his most popular films to date. And the ability to take such a small budget and turn it into such a huge amount of money impressed the executives for Batman. So they handed over directorship to Burton, and this was his first real big budget film. It had a $35 million cap, and it ended up grossing over $400 million at the box office, and it gave him some weight to throw around, honestly. So he agreed to film Batman Returns, which is the sequel, but only under the condition that he got complete creative control. It ended up being too dark for the studio, so Burton did not return to direct Batman Forever, the third one, but he was a producer. He is a jack of all trades, and he is never one to stick to the norm, so he has experimented with filmmaking in all types of genres, such as adventure films, like Pee Wee Herman's Big Adventure, and Dumbo, or sci-fi films, like Mars Attacks and Planet of the Apes. And I would like to say that although he does have several different genres, they are all dark-inspired. These are very apocalyptic sci-fi films. Musicals. So Charlie and the Chocolate Factory and Sweeney Todd, and you might think that there's a huge jump in the mood of these two until you think that they're both musicals about Johnny Depp putting a lot of people into food before it's all over. He's also done book adaptations. He is typically darker than the book is. They deal with death and loss and all of that good stuff that makes his movies so darkly inspired. Gothic-inspired horror and dark fantasy are definitely his most known genre. He has more movies in this than any other genre by far because he's so good at designing and directing these types of movies. He's free to let his personal style bleed into his films, which is German Expressionism and Gothic suburbia influenced. And all of his movies have some elements of Burton's dark style, but these are specifically tailored to accommodate the Gothic feel that accompanies his projects. Beetlejuice, Edward Scissorhands, Ed Wood, Dark Shadows, and Sleepy Hollow are just some of them. Now, stop-motion animation is one of the biggest major factors in Tim Burton's career. He may not have as many of these films as he does other types, but his work in this particular type of art makes him revolutionary in cinema. The Nightmare Before Christmas is undoubtedly the film he is most known for, and while scheduling conflicts with Batman prevented him from directing it, he was heavily involved in the creation of the film. He created it, he produced it, he was involved the entire way through, and it is one of the highlight credits of his career. He also created Corpse Bride and Frankenweenie, besides being notable for the whole firing situation, it's also the only entirely black and white stop motion, and the only Burton directed stop motion movie that is not a musical. He has frequent collaborators. If you have seen a few of Burton's films or have been paying any attention at all to any of these posters, you'll definitely see a few familiar faces. Johnny Depp has starred in 8 of his films, Helena Bonham Carter has starred in 7, and Christopher Lee has starred in 6. And Johnny Depp and Helena usually work together. He also tends to stick to the same technical artists. He's worked with Danny Elfman on every film except for 3 since Pee-wee. He has scored all of his movies. He also frequently works with Henry Selick, who has been greatly influenced by Burton's work. He directed The Nightmare Before Christmas and James and the Giant Peach, which are both produced by Burton. And his own stop-motion film, Coraline, is heavily modeled after Burton's style. That's Danny Elfman and Henry Selick, and this is James and the Giant Peach. Both James and the Giant Peach and Coraline have a Jack Skellington cameo in their scenes. Burton has always seemed to care more about the art of filmmaking than the praise that comes with it, but that doesn't stop people from giving it. His films have been considered for numerous awards, including 25 Academy Award nominations and 8 wins, and 23 Golden Globe nominations and 5 wins, among several others. But the films can't take all of the credit. Burton himself has been honored many times as well. He has a Scream Immortal Award for unique interpretation of horror and fantasy from the Producers Guild of America. He has a Golden Lion for lifetime achievement at the 64th Venice International Film Festival. He has a Golden George for contribution to world cinema at the Moscow International Film Festival. And he has been knighted by the Culture Minister of France of the Order of the Arts and Letters, among many others. His overall contribution to film is monumental. He is considered one of the most forward-thinking pioneers in dark fantasy and eccentric horror. He normalized creepy children's films and removed the taboo of addressing dark topics with youths. He paved the way for weird ideas to be created and accepted and helped them to thrive. And he utterly revolutionized stop-motion animation, and he heavily promoted that style of filmmaking. While he is deemed a weird director, he has so heavily influenced dark fantasy and horror and stop-motion and all of those weird, odd outlets for filmmaking that you wouldn't think somebody would be so tied to. But he has very much pioneered this type of style, and therefore he is one of the most important directors, at least to this generation, of all time. Thank you.